Welcome to AmA Media.2.0. I hope you find here what you were looking for. Thumbs up the video, share and subscribe if you haven't yet. Now let's get it. Enjoy. But from that moment the house became a hell for Sylvia. The woman, who in society passed for a gentle, amiable lady, became more than a tigress to her slave. Not a moment of peace is left to her. She is put to work from morning to evening. Not a moment's respite. Always guards her fury with her own eyes or through those of others. She is awakened in the middle of the night and has to fly at the beckoning of the merciless woman, and woo her, if for a single moment sleep overtakes her. The worst foods are her portion, and she is given almost no time to prepare them. The suffering of the old child is constantly increasing. Physical chastisements are inevitable. First her tender skin, on the so-called picket of justice, we will visit it later, is torn apart by lashes from the Dutch police in Paramaribo. But that's not enough. Jealousy was the cause of all this torture. Mrs. Eliza thought that her husband had been bewitched by Sylvia's charms. Mrs. Eliza supposed that he had given the mother the sum to ransom the daughter, and then to live with her in secret. Therefore Sylvia's slave, her slave, had to remain in her immediate vicinity. Therefore those charms, by lashes and beatings, must be destroyed by distress and misery. Therefore that fair maiden had to be made into a skeleton, which inspired disgust and abhorrence. For a long time the fair locks had disappeared and the hairs had been shaved short. For a long time graceful dress had given way to panties, that is, a piece of coarse linen wrapped around the loins. It had long since become her duty to do the most despicable work and render the most degrading services, that she might be the mockery of all the household. And Mr. Eliza, he was a weak man who feared his wife. Although it hurts his heart that the poor slave in his house had to suffer so, he let his wife do as she chose, for peace's sake. And the mother, it had been 2 years since she had presented the sum for her daughter's freedom to Eliza, and she had not seen her dear child in all that time. As common as it is in Paramaribo, that slaves suffer a bit of fate and undergo severe physical chastisement. This torture was so persistent, so severe, that public backsliding took hold of it. The mother also heard something about it. How often had she turned her steps to the street where her darling lived, hoping to see her one day. How 1,000 yards had she wandered about the house in the evening, if she might succeed in spying on the beloved child, though she could not speak and embrace it, but all in vain. But now that she heard the muttering of a young slave girl who was mistreated by Mrs. Eliza, you were too frightened to heart. Now not an evening went by without her standing under one of the orange trees that line the streets of Paramaribo, or in the shadow of the houses, staring and peeping at that house, which was always closed, but in which her darling lived. Found, one evening, when it was already late, and she had ventured close to the house, she was about to withdraw disconsolately, as she often does, when suddenly she thought she heard a soft and suppressed moan. She remained transfixed. She pricked up her ears. There it sounded more audible in the stillness of the night. It turned into a loud shouting and screaming. Oh God! It's her Sylvia's voice. No! A mother is not mistaken. One mother, but that child who is chastened within is a slave, and she is a free woman. What relationship can there be between the two? After all, she is free and happy. Free and happy, and in there her child is tormented by a barbarian mistress. Is there happiness in such freedom? Meanwhile, this case also became public. A high-ranking official intervened to punish the monster and save the victim. No, he beckoned that by proceeding like this one would incur unpleasantness, and that it would be better to remove the slave girl. He had recited this hint in the most modest way and arranged it in such a way that she could not offend Mrs. Eliza, a lady very celebrated in Paramaribo society and known as a gentle and tender constitution. Mrs. Eliza was sent to the far-off plantation belonging to her, and recommended to the director as a slave, to be treated severely, and to be unsatisfactorily supervised. There she is at this moment. What is the fate of a slave girl, we shall see later. Do you now understand what it means that children must not be separated from their mother? Do you already feel the humane that there lies in that prohibition? Aren't you, as a Dutchman, proud of such a Dutch law? So AmA thanks you for tuning in. Please leave a comment. Grant me until the next video. Peace and much love to all. So lobby.